Good morning, coffee moaners. Good morning, one and all. Welcome to Tuesday, December the 2nd. We're in the room. It's the second day of Vlogmas. It's the countdown to Christmas, and those who follow the channel, may well have seen the new addition to our family last night. She's just been cared for in the other room by one of our girls. I just literally heard her first bark. Oh my God. Are we in for a heap of weirdness? What have we done, guys? Anyway, guys, morning. I hope you're all well. Hope you all enjoyed Vlogmas 1. If you're wondering what the fuck I'm talking about, Vlogmas is our daily vlog, sort of like reality show, if you like. We try not to be like, well, we don't try not to be. We could never hope to be like Zoella, is it? Is that her name? I don't know if she's still going. But anyway, Vlogmas 1 that went out last night, us going to collect and add to our family a new addition to go alongside our lovely Chi Panda Pup and Toffee, because we will never forget Chi. She can't be replaced. Yes, thank you so much for all your messages. Look at you saying Pepper. Pepper is the name of our new addition, and you will be seeing quite a bit of her in Vlogmas. You're going to be seeing her again tonight too, even though we have to keep going backwards and forwards in time, even though Nadia isn't too perturbed by that from an editing perspective. It does my nut in. Anyway, Helen Blanchard, isn't it? Isn't it beautiful? From a dear friend and follower of the channel. Thank you so much. And Ellery, your beautiful tile has arrived. Thank you so much. And can I ask, we can't seem to locate the card for, it's not a chopping board, but it's a sort of wooden poem to Darling Chi. And I can't seem to locate the card that went alongside it. So yeah, I'm literally seeing messages here. She's barking and it's loud. She's got a loud bark for a tiny little dog. But anyway, good morning, everyone. Welcome to Coffee Moaning. If you're here for the news, we're going to crack on. Well, we're going to crack on with the news, not conventionally, because if you go to all of the mainstream media, David Lammy's everywhere talking about the end of juries in court proceedings, and then suddenly he's backtracking on the end of court juries. And I thought at one point this morning, I thought, well, you know, Nick Ferrari's talking about juries and should we have juries? And then I thought, nah, I don't think we do want to talk about juries. It's just like, you know, he's going back on what he said he's going to do anyway. So there we go. Thank you so much. Lots of comments coming into the chat regarding how beautiful she is and how lovely she is. Toffee is me and Toffs in the red room here. I'm just looking at her now. She's very sweet. Toffee keeps going. You'll see in the vlog. She keeps going up to her, having a little bit of sniff, wagging her tail ferociously. And then Pepper takes a little bit of interest. Pepper came to us, you see, having just had her first, what are they called, vaccines, and so she's a little bit dopey. So it was a little bit of a bum steer because her dopiness wasn't her personality. She's awake. She's here. And Toffee's like, right, okay, wagging her tail, sniffing her bum. They're sniffing each other's bums, but I think Pepper might give Toffee a much needed spring in her step again. So there we go. MeTube, thank you so much for clarifying that. 95% of court cases don't actually involve a jury, even now. So yeah, so we're avoiding that topic, but there are a couple of other stories. You know, for anyone who follows the channel, advocacy for the Palestinian cause, our constant sort of lens being on the genocide conducted by Israel against the Palestinians in both Gaza and the West Bank has been one of our big topics, if not the most major topic in our household and in our family. For anyone who's new to the channel, this isn't the only reason. From a humanitarian perspective, it's just like makes sense. But also Nadia's father is from Jordan, so she is half Arab, Anglo-Arab. And so, you know, we have family out in the region. And so, you know, it's incredibly important for not just that reason, but for the very fucking simple facts of humanity. And it's very bad to conduct a genocide, regardless of what happened on October the 7th, which in itself was awful. You cannot justify the level of slaughter that has been subsequent to it. So for that reason, a story that has broken on social media in the last 24 hours just absolutely staggered and amazed me. And so we're going to be talking about Miss Rachel. Miss Rachel, the children's entertainer, the toddlers, is she what is she, toddlers? mean, I haven't, you know, toddler TV. I know some of our followers, I think Natasha, Miranda, I think, you know, a number of your kids watch Miss Rachel. And she's been an advocate for something which has become controversial in 2025. Somehow it's become controversial to campaign against the slaughter of children. God, what a curious thing. Do you remember when the word ceasefire was considered to be anti-Semitic? Oh, Kaz Rowley, Mark, my hubby made the board for you. Tippy, that's it. Thank you, Kaz. Thank you so much. It's so beautiful. It's in my room. It made each individual member of the family cry in a good way. I mean, it was just absolutely lovely. Kaz, thank you so much. Thank you. King Bridget, baby, toddler, early childhood educator. Absolutely, we've talked about her before. We'll pop some images up so you can relate to who she is, etc. If you don't have toddlers or kids, it's someone that would have passed you by, but she's become known to us because of her advocacy for not just the Palestinians, but principally for children first. And of course, more children have been killed by Israel this year than anything else that's killed children this year. Israel is the biggest threat to children this year. In 2025, Israel is the biggest killer of children. Just let that sink in. So her being nominated as anti-Semite of the year. I mean, what? Just breathless by a Zionist, not surprisingly, or a group fighting against anti-Semitism. They've nominated her as an anti-Semite of the year. So we're going to talk about that. The Jewish Chronicle, a sort of questionable journalistic outfit in this country that has repeatedly been hauled over the coals for unreliable, inaccurate, and irresponsible journalism, has written a piece defending Farage, defending Nigel Farage's racism, fascism, sympathies for those two ideologies when he was a teenager, and how it's not a really long stretch to see how if you distill and dilute what he was saying at Dulwich College, it ends up in the DNA of something like the Reform Party. So it's just interesting, isn't it, how it just there's this desire amongst defenders of Israel to get a workaround on some of the most far-right, disagreeable individuals. I mean, the world has gone topsy-turvy. If Miss Rachel is being nominated as an anti-Semite and the Jewish Chronicle is defending Nigel Farage's fascist, racist, anti-Semitic opinions as a youth, without even asking the question of whether they might have seeped into the concept and idea of the Reform Party. So once again, I've talked about it many times and we'll talk about it again, the way in which far-right supremacism, far-right anti-Semitism has reached all the way around the political circle and it lands back at Benjamin Netanyahu and the Israeli regime. Curious, isn't it? Curious. I mean, well, we'll get to it. We'll get to how this almost makes Zionism in and of itself anti-Semitic. And I wanted to show you a clip yesterday by Owen Jones. I've asked the question, has your party imploded? This is the Jeremy Corbyn, Zara Sultana outfit, which, we were very excited about. It's an opportunity for me to show you what Owen Jones had said yesterday, because I trust and hope that we can play clips today. And so consequently, I want to have a listen to that. But I've also got a couple of bits of sync or sound bites from Zara Sultana and Jeremy Corbyn. And I think, without being judgy, baked into both of these responses, it's Owen Jones interviewing each of them at their conference at the weekend, where they decided, yes, let's call it Your Party. But I just want to get your ideas on personality, on charisma, and also in terms of what they're saying. And just shortly before we came on to this live, just shortly before we went live, teeny tiny Tommy, and we all know who we're talking about there, has a big announcement to make. He's getting festive. He subsequent to having attacked Gary Lineker. Did anyone see that story this week? Teeny tiny Tommy Robinson posted an image of Gary Lineker walking with a young sort of woman, inferring and asking, "What are you up to? This is a bit strange, isn't it? What are you up to?" Like he's maybe never asked that of some of the people he kind of hangs out with himself. for Gary Lineker to explain to him what we were heading to. I think he was heading to the shop with his, was it his son? Was it his daughter? Not daughter-in-law, or basically friend of one of his children or something like that. It was utterly innocent, and it was utterly spurious what teeny tiny Tommy was accusing or suggesting. He's trying to suggest Gary Lineker was trying to pull young underage women. I mean, it's just disgusting. It's just ridiculous. It's insane. I mean, oh, come on, guys. Anyway, yeah, me too. I've got the cooperative coffee shop clip. It's we'll talk about it. I mean, you know, yeah, okay. Your party musical trip. Well, yes, we'll talk about it in a moment. And I've got a funny, and I want to talk briefly also about the absolutely appalling Christmas markets and Christmas events that cost a fortune and deliver virtually nothing in the way of festive cheer or fun. And I've got a very funny reel. I think we may have played this, or it might have been done in previous years, actually. But we've got quite a sort of honest takedown. I'm already getting sort of deja vu that maybe this person's done it before, but it's another takedown of a huge event in central London that costs a fortune and has been running since 2007, and it's Winter Wonderland. And I think, you know, well, we'll talk about it when we get to it, and we'll also talk about Christmas markets and the, you know, what a load of old fucking shit. Sorry to use my French there. So, blimey, just grayed out for a your party comment, Elaine Denning. Oh, really? One guy called Green Party members middle class liberals. Well, Janina M, interestingly, the thing about that is, you could say the same of your party, but one thing that needs to really happen is there needs to be a diversity of voices, not just faces, but voices and class, etc., within the Green Party. You're right. I mean, I don't think that's a reason not to vote for it, but I you know, the fact, and also, can we step away from this pejorative term of, oh, it's very middle class? The working class matter. The middle class are a huge number of people who are themselves being squeezed within an inch of their lives, and the upper classes, not all of them are bad, but you know what I mean? There is just a lot of middle class people. What can we do about it, whether we like it or not? We're one of them, I'm afraid. So, God, where to start? It's an embarrassment of not riches, but an embarrassment of horrors, really. Well, let's start with this image, which I'm going to pop up. This is Stop Anti-Semitism organization on Twitter or X. It's that time of year, they say, with almost festive excitement, 2025 Anti-Semite of the Year. Vote for your top 3 candidates by Friday, December the 12th. And then you have a list, or for those of you listening, you've got a list of names at the bottom, which includes Tucker Carlson, Miss Rachel, Guy Christensen, Marcia Cross, Bryce Mitchell, Calla Walsh, Stu Peters. You've also got Cenk and Anna Kasparian from the Young Turks in there, and Cynthia Nixon. How does this make you feel? I mean, this is just such clearly, to class Miss Rachel as an anti-Semite is just completely spectacularly astonishing. I remember reading something somewhere across this 2-year genocide where, I can't remember who it was. It was a meme or it was a reel or something. Someone said something along the lines of, if you are a staunch defender of Israel, it must be exhausting in terms of Israel's, genocide and behavior against the Palestinians. It must be exhausting because every morning you're going to have to find yet more reasons to justify the murder of children, women, and innocent men and the decimation of a nation. Imagine having to wake up with that pressure. But the problem is that I don't think they feel the pressure. They just feel that they're the chosen people. And so it's just very easy just to point the finger at absolutely everyone else and just keep going on about the fact that October the 7th was the worst thing in the history of man, in a vain attempt to eclipse the most appalling genocide that's been live streamed on all of our fucking devices. This organization, what did you say, MeTube? I think you said it's an APAC Defender account, not surprising. Miss Rachel. So anyone who's critical, anyone who's, yet again, it just doesn't end and they just keep persisting. Anyone who's critical of Israel, of the genocide, etc. They are characterized as anti-Semitic. And I saw this news landed today that Israel Hayom Summit, this is a summit being organized in New York by a publication that's owned by Miriam Adelson. And Miriam Adelson is the funder, donor, supporter of Trump, who shoveled a whole load of money his way with the kind of informal agreement that he would allow Israel to annex the West Bank. Little did we all know that not only would they annex the West Bank, which they're still currently doing right now, awfully, but they've completely hobbled and occupied 58% of the Gaza Strip, which essentially means they occupy and control all of the Gaza Strip, because those Palestinians left in the much diminished Gaza Strip have no control of themselves whatsoever. But look at this. At this event, Hillary Clinton is to join Miriam Adelson, Mike Waltz, and Eric Adams at basically a pro-Israel event that seeks to correct, troubleshoot, adjust and alter and basically Photoshop and kind of, you know, hide or edit out all of the kind of blemishes in Israel's kind of public image. Hillary Clinton. So it's just the reason I popped that up there is it's just really important to understand that the Clintons are unforgivable Zionists and supporters of a regime that has committed the most barbaric destruction in recent memory. We've heard from and seen Barack Obama's speechwriters. Let's not forget, not only did I play that speechwriter who wrote for Barack Obama, who's now incensed that young people have responded with their eyes and ears to brutalism and barbarism that's filled their phones, because so much of it has been filmed and shared with the world by IDF soldiers. That a genocidal, barbaric kind of language is used by the Israeli regime. But you know, Barack Obama, you know, these are the, you know, Barack Obama's theoretically the kind of the goody of all goodies, isn't he? I mean, every liberal-minded middle-class twat goes, oh yeah, but Barack Obama, like they say, oh, but yeah, but Tony Blair, you know, fuck off. They're the same old fucking Zionist supporting, corrupt, complicit, bought out managers of a status quo. They are merely they're merely kind of stewards of a system that they've done nothing to change. So the Clintons can fuck right off, because they're in there trying to, the Hillary Clinton's in there seeking to, you know, facelift Israel to the rest of the world. And by so doing, whitewash. Now, you know, there'll be many people saying, what are you saying, that we can never get on board with Israel being okay? No, well, no, the way for Israel to get any kind of sort of legitimacy in it with the populations of the world, people of the world who cannot get on board with what they've done, is unfortunately Israel. Israel has to engage in doing what Germany has had to do subsequent to World War II, which is demonstrate a little bit of humility and a little bit of acknowledgement that perhaps you've overstepped the mark and you've made a few fucking mistakes. No one likes anyone who has zero self-awareness, zero self kind of analysis, and in no way takes responsibility for anything. So, you know, this, because what's going to happen, so Hillary Clinton will probably defend this. Yeah, but, you know, okay, so we don't like what Israel did for the last 2 years. We don't, you know, October the 7th was awful. But, you know, at the end of the day, Israel has to exist and we have to try and help Israel. Well, yes, one of the things you could really do to help Israel is make Israel acknowledge that they have conducted one of the most egregious genocides this side of World War II. Consciously, specifically, and they've used the language to go with it and the policy to go with it. They haven't shied away from telling us what they're doing. So the Clintons, the Obamas, the Bidens, the Democrats can do one, absolutely do one. None of them are fit for purpose whatsoever. And I just wanted to show you that, because I just think it's just shocking. Hillary Clinton to join them, just sort of. And so Miss Rachel being nominated as Anti-Semite of the Year, that's where we've got to. That's where we've got to. Imagine defending a regime in a country and being such an ardent defender of that country that you could in any way, shape or form even consider Miss Rachel to be an anti-Semite. So I'm going to play you now Quentin Quarantino, that's his Instagram account. This is one of the chaps who was on the Global Samud Flotilla. He says it very cogently.
Breaking news for you all today. Miss Rachel, my friend and the famous YouTube TV children's host, who has become very controversial this year for saying that killing children is bad and starving children is bad, she was just named as Stop Anti-Semitism's one of the finalists for their Anti-Semite of the Year. While this is obviously ridiculous, what is even more telling is who they did not name. You might know Nicholas Fuentes from Stuff Like This.
I got home in the spring and I was like, Mom, Dad, Hitler was awesome. Hitler was right. And the Holocaust didn't happen.
He is an actual anti-Semite and is completely omitted from this list because it's not convenient to name a far-right person who actually hates Jewish people to this list. So what Stop Anti-Semitism does is add people like Miss Rachel to try to discourage others from speaking up about the genocide in Palestine. This comes on the same morning that the IDF just announced that they eliminated 2 targets, an 8 and 11-year-old child. Anti-Semitism is so dangerous because they co-opt an important word, anti-Semitism, and turn it into this trash, this Zionist slop that just has nothing to do with actually protecting Jews. Because if they did care about anti-Semitism, on their list would not only be Nick Fuentes, it would also be Benjamin Netanyahu, Itamar Ben-Gvir. These are the people who have caused anti-Semitism to surge around the world. But the owner of Stop Anti-Semitism does not care. She has the good username, she knows what she's doing, and she's there as an asset for the state of Israel. Thank you.
Says it rather beautifully, doesn't it? I mean, it is slop. It is Zionist slop. What a great description. And I don't agree with whoever suggested Dawn French is a coward. Look, everyone has their level of, she stepped out and then she got bitten. And for anyone who isn't in the public eye and doesn't know how ferocious the out of vision behind the scenes hostility can be when you do step out, and that's not to say that you don't do it, and it's not defending or suggesting that anyone shouldn't do it. But I think in every individual case, you can't apply to everyone the same stomach or appetite for hate that, say, Nadia's received. I've received a much lesser version of that. Anyone who steps out and says anything in the public eye, and if you have a public profile, it gets absolutely pilloried. There's the outward pillorying that you see by groups like this and in the Jewish Chronicle and the Telegraph and what have you. It's interesting that so many of the contributors and journalists in the Jewish Chronicle, a British publication is quite a sophisticated term for it, also work for the Telegraph. So it's almost one and the same publication. It's one and the same people. And we're going to move to that. For those of you who don't know who Miss Rachel is, here's some images of what a threat she is. I mean, she's clearly a member of Hamas, isn't she? I mean, she has all of those. She has all the aspects of being a terrorist and an anti-Semite. I think it's the primary colors, and I think it's the appeal to children. I mean, how you can turn campaigning for children not to be killed into some kind of extremist attitude. It speaks to the contorted souls and the contorted hearts of a regime and an ideology, because it's not the religion. This isn't Jewish people. This is a particular brand of Israeli Zionism that is so hateful, so hate-filled, so in a weird, and this is the weirdest part of all of it, in this organization nominating Miss Rachel, that Stop Anti-Semitism, in plopping her on that list, this is the weirdest part of all of it, guys. There has to be an acknowledgement in the DNA sort of, brain, frontal cortex, or whatever you call it, frontal lobe. There has to be some comprehension in the minds of those who put her on the list that she's not anti-Semitic. They have to be thinking to themselves, oh, all right, we're having to suggest that someone who's anti the killing of children is wrong. But you can't tell me, unless they are pure animals, unless they are pure barbarians, to characterize. Now, they will argue, but she focuses mainly on Palestinian children. Well, she hasn't focused solely on Palestinian children, but I'll tell you why she focuses probably 98% of her focus and time on Palestinian children, because 99.5% of the deaths in the region are Palestinian children. I think she's robust enough not to be flawed by this. It's so patently absurd that you end up running around the streets laughing. I mean, and the reason I wanted to talk about it is it is just so absurd. It's a total lunacy. It's like saying Play School is Hamas propaganda. You couldn't, by targeting her, by adding her to the list, they have revealed the moral emptiness and vacuum that is at the heart of them. I mean, I feel sorry for these people. I feel sorry for these far-right Israeli Zionist supporters who are seeking to make the world forget, not forgive, because that forgiveness suggests that Israel has said we did something wrong. At no point has Israel, the government, nor many aspects of society there, some, yes, but not many, have in any way acknowledged they've done a single thing wrong. They seek to even justify the rape and the abuse of Palestinian prisoners. And Ben-Gvir yesterday promoted the guy who shot the two surrendering Palestinians. So, you know, there is zero self-awareness. So when they do this, they don't, again, I suppose what is frightening about it is that they have such absolutely no capacity for self-awareness that they don't even realize that this completely sort of shows them for who they are. Heartless, soulless, evil. All in the name, and this is what like Quentin Quarantino says, this is all in the name of supposedly fighting anti-Semitism. This genocide, this Israeli regime, and Netanyahu, Ben-Gvir, Smotrich, and all the rest of them have completely denigrated, totally sort of, you know, they've devalued the term anti-Semitism entirely, at the same time as increasing the potential for anti-Semitism. But what I would argue is that I used to feel that. I don't think that's the case. I think all that's happened is there is massive anti-Israeli sentiment, and that's okay. You can hate America without being against every American. You can hate Britain. Most people in Britain do hate fucking the British government and what we do. But it doesn't make you anti-British. This idea that you're anti-Jewish or anti-Semitic is fucking nonsense. And they're going to keep trotting it out because it's the only line they've got left. It's the only line they can keep leaning on. So I think it's a pretty safe bet that when you say this woman is to be nominated as Anti-Semite of the Year, fucking hell, let's go and take a whole heap of drugs and stand on a mountain. It's just ridiculous. But you know, so alongside that story is the other story, which is the Jewish Chronicle defending Nigel Farage. Stephen Pollard there, long-time contributor to the Jewish Chronicle, a writer for the Telegraph. I think he also writes for the Spectator. He says here, the Guardian, the BBC, and the weaponization of anti-Semitism against Nigel Farage. Now, I suppose the question we should all ask ourselves is, why is the Jewish Chronicle seeking to defend Nigel Farage? Nigel Farage spouted and indulged in, obviously, anti-Semitic rhetoric. He idolized Hitler. He idolized fascism. He whispered and hissed the sounds of the gas chambers and said the Nazis were right to do what they did to Jewish classmates at school. Now, I said it before and I'll say it again about Shamima Begum. If he's asking for a pass on his childhood political proclivities and his, you know, his teenage adolescent fascinations with extremities and extremism, etc. Oh, look, when Israel, Herzog met Farage, they gave him the green light. Yeah. So if Farage can say, look, that was the kind of almost locker room extremities of adolescence, the same kind of pass is not afforded to anyone else who's potentially radicalized or groomed or holds unwholesome beliefs or ideologies when they're younger. Shamima Begum's an example. I used it the other day. In this instance, what we've got here is Israel, as a far-right fascist regime, has sought to connect with Farage, Reform, and the Conservative Party with Badenoch, even though they're far right, because what people don't seem to understand is that the government in Israel is far right. Forget whether you're Jewish, forget whether you're black, forget whether you're white, British, whatever. They're far right, and the Conservatives are lurching further to the right to try and sort of make inroads into the Reform Party. And Reform, however we want to keep trying to normalize the idea that Reform isn't far right, keep looking at the number of councillors, members that keep having to be nudged out because they say stuff that's too racist, too fascist, too obviously, wrong. And so you have a situation where Israel is now seeking to legitimize people who I would argue are not expressing their anti-Semitic views, such as Tommy Robinson, teeny tiny Tommy, because it suits them at this point. There is a connection. Something has gone all the way round to meet at the very kind of same starting point. So where, extraordinarily far-right anti-Semites are on the same page as Israeli extremist Zionists. What does that tell us? And this is what I was kind of steering towards and indicating at the beginning, and then I'm going to read out some of your comments. I'm beginning to think that Zionism, as manifested in the form that Israel has promoted and the lobby groups are promoting and Miriam Adelson and the likes, and Zionism is actually, in and of itself, baked into it, is anti-Semitic in and of itself. It is so far right, it is anti-itself. It's bizarre. It's bizarre. So when you have the likes of Netanyahu and, outspoken supporters of Israel in this country, describing anyone who opposes what Israel's done to the Palestinians as self-hating Jews, this is a joke. Because the far right, the extremist right in Israel, the Ben Gvirs and that lot, they are unaware that what they're doing is so hateful to Judaism and the Jewish faith. But they're so sort of fanatical in it, they can't see it. So it has come full circle. That's why there's no contradiction. And yet at the same time, it will never, ever stop for me being quite shocking that the Jewish Chronicle is now seeking to attack the Guardian and the BBC and legitimize, in essence, the childhood anti-Semitism, which is, let's face it, potentially just a small kernel of the DNA of that is in the Reform Party's fucking policies. They're seeking to legitimize Nigel Farage. That suggests to me that the Israeli regime will reach to anyone, regardless of what their political leanings on left, right, or anything, that legitimizes their maniacal imperialist behavior. It's a joke. It's a total joke. It's an insult to so many Jewish people around the world who just are saying repeatedly, look at Jewish Voice for Peace, not in our name, not in our name. And so I just find, so on the one hand, this will never ever stop perplexing me that the Jewish Chronicle sees some kind of logic in not holding Nigel Farage to account, but actually propping him up, supporting him, characterizing him as a victim. Well, we all know where that comes from, don't we? Quite flabbergasting. And if you don't know who Nigel Farage is, there he is. And if you want to know what he was like as a kid, there he was, just without a cigar. Just can't wrap my head around it myself. So that's the far right. So there is no difference now between being a far right fascist, which normally in the past would relate to being an anti-Semitic, and being a Zionist, or being an ardent, strong proponent of Israeli Zionism and legitimizing what Israel have done to the Palestinians. I mean, let's not forget, the only country in this whole conflict right now that is not talking about a two-state solution is Israel. And for decades or years before, it was Israel often bemoaning the fact that they felt no other Arab nation wanted a two-state solution. It was, hang on a minute, everyone in the fucking region is saying let's have a two-state solution apart from Israel. On that, I just need to head over to Teeny Tiny Tommy. Breaking news. He's just had a bit of a kind of bout in the boxing ring. He's a bit sweaty and he's got some urgent news. Now, the last thing I expected to see on my bingo card this Christmas was Tiny Teeny Tommy encouraging people to come for a carol service, a festive carol service. So let's hear from the big man himself.
Morning, yeah?
Morning.
My question is, will you be in London for the biggest carol service?
Hang on, I didn't quite catch the end of that. Let me hear that again.
Question is, will you be in London for the biggest carol service this country's seen?
Probably not, Tommy. Probably not. I need to check the calendar. Why? Is it promising to be a good one?
It's the first year.
Oh,
We shouldn't have to put this on. There should
why not? Why shouldn't you have to? Who puts on carol services normally?
be carol service. There should be a massive Christmas event put on by our government. Did you see Poland's this year?
No, I didn't. Did anyone see Poland's this year? I didn't see it.
Poland's Christmas market switch on.
No. Did you?
Lights all lit in the colours of their country, the celebration, everyone in their capital city coming out for it.
No. What were the colours? Are they red and white? I think they're red and white. Oh, just need to add blue, and it's like our flag.
Yeah. Well, this is the first year we're going to organise it within 4 weeks. Unite the kingdom, put the Christ back into Christmas.
Putting the Christ back into Christmas, but it's called Christ. Putting the Christ back into Christ. Putting the crisp packet back into putting the. Oh my God! I never thought Tiny Teeny Tiny Tommy Timmy Tom Toms would be the man to put Christ back into Christmas. Fucking hell! What an idea!
Back into Christmas. Let's start focusing on our days. It's the first year. Wait till next year, the year after. We're going to do it every year. People will end up travelling from around the globe to our Christmas event. Guaranteed.
Fuck me. Get me on an EasyJet. Get me on there now. Get me on Ryanair. Oh no, they don't fly to Israel. Oh my God, is anyone going? I'm so fucking excited because I feel we need to put the Christ back into Christmas. Christ almighty. I mean, I don't know if anyone's told it. Christ was a Palestinian. Weird, isn't it? Weird. Unite carol service. Wow. Okay. Well, there we go. So let's just go over to your party. This is it was their conference at the weekend. I wanted to play you this clip. This is Owen Jones talking about your party. I know so many people in this community were very excited when Zara Sultana, Jeremy Corbyn said, we're going to give you another option, which isn't just Labour. But of course, none of them catered for the fact that Zach Polanski was going to ride in on a unicycle in his Green Party outfit and just basically steal their thunder, which he's done. He's done it masterfully. So listen to this. This was Owen Jones's take. And then I've got a couple of clips where he asks Jeremy Corbyn a quick question and he asks Zara Sultana. And I have to confess, coupled with Owen Jones's analysis, everything I've read about the falling outs and the inter-party squabbling and the people not entering the conference room because someone wasn't let in. I then watched the two clips after Owen Jones, and I thought, thank fuck for that. If I'm honest, I want to know what you think.
I think the Your Party divisions are a massive shame because 800,000 people signed up and they were so full of excitement, so much enthusiasm, and I think pissing that away is a travesty, actually. I think a lot of people should be angry about that. And, you know, I understand there's different grievances. I think having massive public rows, briefing against each other to various newspapers, that kind of thing. You know, this was supposed to be a big opportunity to turn that around. You see this here, there's lots of people who are, excited and that, they're rooted in their communities. And that needs to be harnessed instead of just having yet another drama. Zara Sultana obviously has made that decision to boycott conference. I would just say, you know, whatever grievances you have, that is now the big story coming out of this conference. Is it worth it? You know, what's the gain? So I would just hope there's reflection on that, because there's a huge opportunity for the left genuinely at the moment, and I think a strong Your Party would be a really important part of that. And I think it's a real shame that that's been weakened so unnecessary.
I think he's pulling his punches there. Basically, at the end of the day, what I think Owen Jones is wanting to say there, and I'm sure he says this privately, is what a fucking mess. What a fucking what a disappointment, to quote a head teacher or a teacher. Real disappointment. Unable to put aside squabbling, personalities, egos. It's just, once again, I've talked a lot about how it's just proof again that the whole party construct thing, it's full of egos. There's too many egos, and yet it seems to be that you won't go into politics unless there are egos. Is there any other way of running things or being a society without politicians? I mean, I'm beginning to think we're all kind of addicted, or not addicted because we all hate them, but we're all sort of trapped in this political thing which doesn't seem to work anymore. Your party fucking out. It's just a missed opportunity. They fucked it. And if I'm really honest, I can't even say where I think I'd be now if the Green Party hadn't come through. In the spirit of transparency, me and Nadia voted Greens at the last election, which was before, I believe, Zach Polanski was part of the equation. It wasn't part of this kind of hugely successful kind of publicity campaign and push that he's spearheaded for the Green Party, which I think has been incredibly successful and has not been low on detail or authenticity. I mean, there's always in opposition, yes, you can make big promises. How on earth are you going to enact them? And I think that's forever the problem. But I think, at the point where you don't have to be worrying about that just yet, the fact that your party couldn't get off the fucking starting gate, it's like they were literally, on the starting line. They were about to fire the gun. And it was like Jeremy Corbyn and Zara Sultana started to argue over the shape of the gun. When they were going to fire the starting gun. Should they fire the starting gun up or, horizontally? What color should the starting gun be? Who should hold the starting gun? Who's the right person to fire the starting gun? I mean, for fuck's sake, if you can't agree that, how the fuck do you expect anyone to entrust you with running any part of the country? It's just frightening. I mean, teeny tiny Tommy has fewer arguments in his own boxing ring than the Your Party are having at the moment. And he's busy. Teeny tiny Tommy's putting the Christ back into Christmas. Christ almighty. That's a big ask. I wonder if I nearly said something I shouldn't say that. Anyway, let's have a listen to this. This is Owen Jones asking Jeremy Corbyn a question. And as I watch these two clips, I'm going to play you Jeremy Corbyn, then Zara Sultana. I literally felt hope, which has been filled with the Green Party. I felt the hope I had for the Your Party. Literally, it just seeped from me again as I watched this clip. Listen to this.
Why Your Party is so distinct from the Green Party that this is where you should support.
Distinctly socialist party, distinctly socialist aims, similar aims on sustainability and environment, probably because the Green Party's positions seem unclear to me on international policies. I think ours are much clearer in the sense of peace, disarmament, total support for Palestine, but also an end to the war in Ukraine.
What relationship do you think you'd have with the Green Party?
Well, I know Zach, I talk to him, I know a lot of people in the Green Party in my own community, and generally we get along quite well. I think at a local level, Your Party will be campaigning with Greens on a number of local issues, but we will be distinctive in our much stronger social justice political message. The Green Party is probably very broad on economic and social thinking. I suspect that the newer members are probably well to the left of the older members in the Green Party. We don't have that problem because we've got everybody new.
Yoxy, Roxy, Voxy, the Green Party is not socialist. Is it pro-Israel under Zach? Zach Polanski is anti-Israeli, the Israeli genocide. He is pro-Palestinian. He is a Jewish leader of the Green Party. So he's, again, not anti-Israel. No one is anti-Israel, the concept. Well, I mean, you in terms of the Israeli project and how Israel was plonked in the middle of the Middle East, that's an entirely different historical conversation. In the situation as it sits now, I believe Zach Polanski and the Green Party are for a two-state solution. MeTube says Green Party will find itself shifting more to the right once economic policies come into play. But MeTube, doesn't that frustrate you? I mean, I know you're right. And this is what I was talking about the other day about Rachel Reeves. She is no different to any other chancellor. The system, the economic system, the capitalist system disallows any political voice to come through that in any way seeks to unpick or challenge that system. I think one has to accept that, say well, let's listen to, before we get into that, let's listen to Zara Sultana, because she's an idealist, she's an ideologist, and within this, I hear what she's saying. I might have got on board with some of what she's saying in this next clip when I was literally going to places like Marxism 89 with my friend and was curious and thinking about how could this work in reality. Have a listen to this, where she's talking about nationalizing the British economy.
Kind of policies for the country, and he said nationalize the entire economy. So just wondering, what does that look like?
That looks like a socialist transformation of the country where we nationalise utilities, we nationalise energy, we nationalise transport, we nationalise communications, including the internet, but we also have to broaden our horizons.
But not the entire economy, though.
So we have to have a socialist economy that includes workers running their workplaces through cooperatives. It means public services run for profit, not need, with, workers and users on the boards of those organisations.
Democratic ownership.
And it means the entire economy run by workers, not the billionaires and the corporations that run it today.
So that mean I'm just interested because like kiosks, like small little cafe kiosks. That kind of
workers' cooperatives.
Yeah. So I don't know. I'm just interested because it said the entire. I'm just trying to. I think it's fascinating.
The entire economy under the control of workers.
Okay.
Whether that is nationalisation, workers' cooperation.
Socialisation.
And when we look at especially things like food, that means looking at the entire food production system and that being under the control of workers.
You see, it's a really challenging clip, that. In terms of interpersonal skills, I don't know if you noticed, she didn't really, it wasn't like she answered anything. It's like poor old Owen hadn't said anything each time he sort of sought to clarify or sought to agree. I found Jeremy dry, and I don't dislike what she's saying, but the first thing one thinks is, well, hang on a minute. If we go this far, and we go this far potentially that quickly, even if you accept that there would then have to be an economic collapse in order to, and a sort of ground zeroing, if you like, of the established economic system, in order to then rebuild from the ground up a sort of workers' communes and workers' collectives. And again, I think the ideology and the idea of that is sound. But the problem is that even if you say created this, let's call it a sort of idyll, this kind of, almost Garden of Eden-esque socialist thing, which, is a great idea. I mean, there are many young people that are like, well, why the fuck don't we do that? You're right. Okay, here. The countries outside of this country would punish us mercilessly. And so the question I would want to ask, or some of the questions I really want answered, is how can we, MeTube's just flagged it up, how can we get to a place of genuinely changing the system in a way that maybe not as extremely as Zara Sultana is suggesting there, but how can we step towards those ideas without the very system we're seeking to try and, if you like, make fairer and more equitable and more and less sort of exploitative? How can we do that without the system immediately punishing whichever political party did that and making the lives of everyone who's voted for them appalling? Because this is the situation that could happen. My worry is, say the Green Party romped it and won the election. What would happen immediately after that is the financial markets, the British markets, would crater. And that is an artificial response, because the Green Party as an idea is great, but the financial markets would punish the British government, would punish Britain, both internationally and in terms of within the UK, because it doesn't suit the financial system. And so therein you have how we're trapped. We are trapped. There's no two ways of putting it. we are trapped in this system. And I think that's the problem, because you can't, it's like you can't do things by halves. You either go wholly towards this or you don't go towards it at all. I mean, how do we get out of this? Guys, how do we get out of this? Fun Times Forever says, most young folk don't remember what the utilities were like before they were nationalised. If I'm brutally honest, neither do I. I was a child, but I do remember the electric companies going on strike. Corporate capitalism privatized the profits, socialized the losses. I mean, you know, it's not surprising that you privatize. So privatizing, you know, things like water, we're experiencing the awfulness of bad water, bad maintenance, increased bills. We're probably going to have another drought this year, you know, and you sort of think, well, how would nationalizing them have made that different? At the end of the day, nationalizing them, someone's running them as a national corporation, even as a nationalized entity. They're being run, admittedly, by government appointed people and what have you. But look at the BBC, you know, that doesn't guarantee success. Edward Bevington, so you vote for someone who does it at least a bit different. I think you're right. I think Edward Bevington, I don't think you're being facetious there. I think you're right. That's how President Trump got in. Yeah, and I suppose the disappointment with Trump is that he's just concurred to type and he's just part of the system, part of the problem. No, we do what we did in the 1950s and 1970s and regulate, same YouTube. Claire Body 6687, I'm old enough to remember when parts of the NHS didn't make a loss and were able to reinvest in the system. Now we have private organizations whose raison d'etre is to make a profit off the top. Yeah, and any profit that is made is creamed off and distributed, isn't it, amongst shareholders? My worry is at the next election, because I'm, you know, my intentions and my support are behind the Green Party. I want to vote Green. And I want to be better equipped, because I think one of the things that might come hurtling the way of the Green Party and the way of your party is this is unrealistic. And as soon as someone says something's unrealistic, that gains huge purchase, doesn't it, with certain swathes of society? Oh, well, you're being unreal. That's unrealistic. That's childhood dreams, that is. But we need something. We need a childhood dream to take effect. We need something different. Who's this? Silkani, hi sweetheart. Problem is, it's a cycle of nationalize, privatize, nationalize, privatized again. Well, and I would say that sort of cyclical nature of nationalizing is the cyclical nature of governance in this country. Nothing changes. Things just keep getting worse. Shocking. Okay, well, on that note, as things are getting worse, don't go to any Christmas villages. They're all the same. They use the same huts. Apparently they're selling Temu tat. So they're getting stuff online and selling it at an inflated price. Sometimes I want to literally trip Nadia up when I hear her, I'm not going to say she does it all the time, but sometimes when you're walking around a Christmas village, she goes, oh, look, isn't that all lovely? I sort of go, how do you know is it any more lovely, less lovely than anything you see anywhere else? Is it just lovely because it's in yet another generic Christmas hut? I don't want to be a bar humbug, but in London, every single spare square space has the same flat pack Christmas hut plopped up, and this article here is reporting that many Christmas markets are basically selling stuff that you can find on Temu, the website, or on Amazon or on Etsy, and they're ramping up the prices by almost 7 times. So try not to fall foul of this fraudulent, fake, festive, what do they call it, Dina, my sister-in-law, higgy. It's fake higgy. All of it, a huge amount of it is fake higgy. Every now and then you see there's I think Winchester has a nice market, but we were going to get on the train for Vlogmas and go to Winchester, but then a part of us just thought, but what if we get there and it's all the same fucking flat pack Christmas huts? No, can't do it anymore. Everything's fake, including the White House's photograph of Trump. White House photoshops old photo of Trump into a new Christmas picture. I haven't got time for Christmas. It's too shiny. It's too shiny. But look at this. I think I'm not too sure if this is the same film from last year. It might be, or it's the same person doing a different film about the same event. This is a breakdown of Winter Wonderland. Do not, if there's one thing I'm going to say to you, we've said it for many years before anyone else cottoned onto this. Do not fall foul of the Winter Wonderland PR machine. You walk. I think it now costs you £5 to go in. We took the kids way back when it first opened, and every single ride cost an absolute arm and a leg. So you've got the so-called festive Christmas markets there, and then you've got Winter Wonderland. Anyway, listen to this.
Of Winter Wonderland. I feel like I'm going to struggle putting into words how absolutely shit this place actually is, but I'll try my best, so here goes. The slight saving grace for this place is that it only costs £5 per person to get in, but somehow even that feels like a rip-off. And pre-booked or not, just like everywhere in London, get ready for a queue to go in. It opened in 2007, and each year it's been getting bigger and bigger and shitter and shitter. Now I'm doing this review through the eyes of someone who's bringing kids here, which I think's fair, because who in their right mind would want to come here as a fully grown adult anyway? As soon as you get in, all you'll be doing is telling your kids to stay close and clinging onto them for dear life. It's so busy, and with the stench of vape smoke and stale candy floss in the air, it really gives it that magical Christmas feel. Onto some rides next. I mean, this little Santa's Express train wasn't too bad for London prices at £5 each, but as expected it was shit and lasted about 10 seconds. Again, this kid's swing chair ride for £5 each wasn't too bad either. And after that was finished, I thought I'd treat us all to some nice warm Christmassy hot chocolates. So 3 classic ones and 1 Terry's chocolate orange came to £26. Yeah, they might have a little flake on top, but they aren't even that big. £26 quid. What the is happening to this country? But anyway, after that I thought I'd cheer us up with the most depressing looking churros I'd ever seen for £7.50. There are some nice little Christmassy pubs scattered about, but knows how much a pint is in there. The adult rides are about a tenner, I think. I'm not trying to knock this place too much, but the ice skating doesn't quite have the same magical feel that I'd imagine Central Park does. Through all the enjoyment, if your phone does run out of battery though, nothing screams 21st century Christmas quite like portable phone chargers. To sum this place up, it's way too busy to enjoy, and it stinks of shit. It's got zero Christmas feel to it, and it just feels more like a giant sized fun fair. Also be careful on the way out, as these dodgy geezers try and give your kid a balloon that if they take it without you looking, they'll try and charge you for. Yeah, so overall, avoid it like the plague. See you next time.
Thanks, mate. Part of me thought, because when we were discussing, we go through the list of things to do, and it's like, well, you know what you do get in a city like London is a huge number of fantastic, and we've shot a kind of lights tour walk through. You get a huge number of astonishing lights that are free that you can just go and see. And the rides, I mean, £5 a child per ride. I mean, it's just awful. And I don't know about anyone else. I've always found the atmosphere of a fun fair pretty fucking shocking. You feel like you're going to be robbed at any minute. You feel unsafe. It's a bit scaggy. And so there you go. But we've filmed something that was quite curious just over the last couple of days, and we can't wait to show you that. But I mean, rides, and of course the terrible thing is you take your kids there, they see something shining, they see something moving, and it's like, yeah, go on it. And that thing of when you walk out of the gate and someone thrusts something into your child's hand, that is a real problem too. So there we go. So tune in tonight for Vlogmas 2, where you're going to be able to indulge yourselves in Pepper the puppy a little bit more. I can hear her. She's already barking. She's in the care of one of our kids at the moment. And so, yeah, you've got lots to look forward to, lots of events coming through. I even think that at least a taste test is scheduled and all the rest of it. So stay tuned. Do hit the subscribe button, hit the notification bell too. And hope you have a lovely day. And if you haven't seen last night's Vlogmas, go and check it out right now.